Loose Gadgies, episode 51. It is a Thursday. It's not. It's actually Sunday. But it is Thursday on the episode. It just does me head in whenever I'm thinking about that. Today I want to talk about news media. Some channels have been changing formats of things, changing shows around. talktv in particular has been switching all their gubbins around and presenters around and all of that. And I don't know if you noticed this, Mark. Right? I was sat watching Dr. David Bull. He's one of the co-deputy leaders of Reform UK, and he knows his stuff. I've watched a bunch of their speeches and their conferences lately, because obviously we're going to be voting sometime next year, and there's going to be.
Is it 2024 the election? Is it? Or
yeah. Well, this is why all the party conferences are usually out this time, but that's why they've been of a certain flavour, and why Rishi Sunak's been saying, "Oh, I'm going to abandon this and fix that, put money into this," and because he's laying himself a platform for when he eventually announces the date, but it should be next year. Likelihood is, according to these political commentators, there's thousands of them these days, it seems. There's always a new one on the telly. It's a career these days, apparently. They're saying springish, near the beginning of the year, maybe it's no later than May, perhaps. So we're going to have a bit of a build-up. Obviously, you see some of them setting out their stalls and that already. So I was watching his show because he's got a show on talktv as well. Richard Tice usually does on a Sunday, but I think he's moved to GB anyway. And he just had this segment about Israel and whatnot, and talking about how this and that, and he had an expert on saying, right, well, this is sort of some of the history, as brief as I can make it, blah blah blah. Then after that serious segment, he just started talking about facts of the day and this, and I was like, hold on a minute. He's been talking about facts of the day. He's been having a bit bants with his co-host, and he's had someone ringing in about some nonsense and talking about some show, and then maybe because Madonna's been on recently, I'm like, what is all this? What is all this? There's people protesting in the streets about Israel and things about Palestine, and then stuff about trans issues, and then there's still strikes going on, and no one's talking about them anymore because I think we're all bored of it, but they're still happening, the train strikes and whatnot. There's all sorts of stuff going on with free speech in the media. There's tons and tons of things, and he's sat there having a bit of a laugh, and I'm like, why am I watching this? This is more like a chat show? Why am I watching a chat show that brands itself as a news show? What use is this? He's sitting having a bit chuckle about stuff and things. Now, I don't watch this channel for entertainment. I watch it for news. And it seems like some of these things keep bleeding into each other on these channels that are on all day, every day. They're filling it with stuff and things, and I don't know, repackaging stuff, getting more people in and getting them to say, oh, would you mind like opposing, if I asked you this question, would you be willing to oppose X, Y, and Z, and we'll bring this person on, and then they're all constantly bitching, oh, well, the BBC won't call these guys terrorists, and they're calling them militants, and so now it's the news. Part of the news is news about other news channels and what they are or they're not saying, or who they've had on, and I want to stay up to date with things, but I've sat here over the weekend and I've said, I'm not watching it. But like your mum said, that if there's something I really need to know, you tend to find out. And I'm like, I'm starting to believe she's right. Why the hell do I watch this? I used to watch it because, as autistic as I am, I need to figure stuff out. I need to know, if I say X and Y to someone in a very blunt, factual opinion, is that going to come out wrong? Am I saying the right thing? Have I got enough information? Have I understood that correctly? So it was informative for me in more than just about the facts, but it helped me understand, what people are and aren't thinking, what are good and bad thoughts, what are, Like I figured out how to interact with people from some of that stuff. And now I'm
I was
like,
trying.
I'm just.
The other day, I was trying to think about a new T-shirt for us, and the slogan is something like, "Why less than 5% and not 50+1?" And it sort of relates to the fact that a lot of the news is about the minority, the less than 5% affected, and it's not about the 50+1%, where that should be, a potential larger topic of conversation. And we probably know that most of these news stations, it's not actually about the news; it's about the ratings.
It's about marketing information or
Yeah.
information marketing. And when you've got a body like Ofcom who says, right, every news organisation must have balance. So if you bring on someone who's against this, you must bring on someone who's for it, either at the same time or the same day in two separate segments. But at some point, you must offer the other side. I'm like, well, I used to bitch about the way in America it's just a free-for-all. Right, the news is the news. It can even be opinion based, and it some of it just looks like chaos, just arguments about this, that, and the other. But then I thought, well, why did I feel offended the other day when some American commentator said, well, free speech is freer in America than it is over there in Britain. I'm like, shut up, shut up. You know what? He's right. He's right. Every time you become big enough to be a broadcaster, you fall under Ofcom's regulations, and you then have a playbook. So right, you can say this, can't say that. You can't. You can only say this many swears, and you can only do it after this time at night. If you do this position, you must do this position.
So,
right, so
if you just said what you said, and we were in Russia, we would just accept that as normal, wouldn't we?
Oh, yeah, I mean, all of theirs is just state media, and they just
but the way it's said,
fed.
About what you can and can't say, is it any different?
It probably isn't. It's perhaps been in the branding of it, I suppose. Like we say, well, they've got state-controlled media, and well, technically we have regulator-controlled media. Yes, there's the topics and the things you can cover and what you can say are different. So you could say the government is horrible and then have someone else on saying the government is great. So you can. There are certain things that would get you killed over there if you said them here. You just might get cancelled or shouted at. But so there's a bit of the consequences are perhaps different.
Can you remember that?
But I get the analogy.
There was a blonde TV presenter in Russia who said something slightly off. I don't know if you saw in the news last week that she's now.
Last week.
She was in the news last week that she's now got symptoms of poisoning.
No.
Yeah. That was on last week. I think she was being controversial at the beginning.
Simonian or something saying that they should. Or was it that wifey that said, "Oh, we should blow up a nuclear bomb above Siberia to take out all the electronic equipment, because who needs all these phones and things anyway?" And then the government came out and went, no, that's not a view of the government, even though she's one of the propaganda merchants over there, well known as one of these state media propaganda merchants. And they went, oh, no. Well, it's right. The number of people that have fallen off balconies over there. I mean, it's
fallen off balcony.
I mean, if you plotted the stats for that, you're like, well, that's well outside the bell curve, that, isn't it? The realms of probability. I mean, the number of times it's uncanny. It's uncanny. It's not quite flipping a coin, is it?
No.
And poisonings as well, and it's always the same. It's never a different play. It's never like a car crash or a random stabbing or something. Or they, I don't know, fell off a train. It's always a hotel balcony, a hospital balcony, or a poisoning.
We didn't discuss that one, I don't think. But the guy that was sort of allegedly against Putin, who exiled himself, and then suddenly on an airplane it got blew up. And did you hear last week that they found fragments?
Gagosian.
They found fragments of what would they call those things that you throw at people?
What, grenades?
Yeah, hand grenades. They found fragments of hand grenades at the crash site. Boom. So, can you just take one for the team, mate? Okay, boss. You know.
Well, that whole thing was a hell of a mess. Trying to track that. I mean, I watch a lot of. I say a lot. I watch a handful of these Ukraine update channels just you know, because I'm interested in how it's going, what the crack is, because it has implications. As much as some people say it doesn't, it does. Ukraine's the gateway to everywhere else. So, you know, you stop them there and you stop them, right? So I've been watching it. And that was... There were one day there's a coup. Next day they're in Belarus. Next day they're mates and he's busy talking to someone from the African Congress. And then next day his house is being raided and he's got millions of dollars in cardboard boxes, like literally the banknotes in cardboard boxes in his mansion. Then not long after, oh well, his plane's crashed. We're not sure why. Yeah, you are. Yeah, you are. You know, we think it might have been shot down. Look, you can see there's a vapor trail there from what looks like a ground-to-air missile. All right, and no one's shocked.
Yeah, it's become normal business for him now, isn't it? Vladimir, you know.
Mental. But then I found it watching YouTubers, because they're not regulated the same way. The only regulations they have are YouTube regulations in displaying violence. You can display it, but then your episode would be demonetized. So because advertisers don't want to display their advertisements in it, so it would be demonetized. So there are consequences, but
that seems fair enough. Right.
There are bits and pieces that you can do on there that won't get you banned, but would get you demonetized if you're a monetized partner channel, right? Which we're not yet. So I mean, there are platform guidelines, and yes, sometimes people seem to get mysteriously, as they call it, shadow banned, which means they're dropped out of the algorithm. So you never know when that person's content has been put out. You don't get an alert mysteriously. I manually check. You imagine me obsessively looking up and down the list, like who's got. I don't miss much, but they can get away with a lot more. So I find that I've learned more in depth and honest reviews, even balanced reviews on YouTube about Ukraine. I did the whole Israel history thing on there. I watched about 4 or 5 of them, all by people on different parts of the political spectrum. Some of them historians, some of them it was like a podcast, some of them it was actually like a documentary episode that someone had put on their channel, or another one was an interview with someone who was a political journalist who is Jewish and who lived there for however long and has written books on it. So there was everything from sort of an opinion to a professional opinion to professional like historical knowledge, like a proper historian talking about it. So I watched a bit of everything. Why haven't I got all that on the bloody news? I can get all of that. Why am I even watching the news when the richness of the content and the freeness of the content is better just by watching some dude's channel on YouTube who's managed to get... I watched Jake Bro. He's got like 500,000 followers. He started out as a finance guy, saw something was kicking off in Ukraine, just started talking about it, and before he knows it, he went from 100 and something thousand followers to 500,000, because the way he does it, it's very structured, it's very factual. He tries to remain sort of impartial, although he says, look, I'm all for it. And he tries to show different sides of different things, and he runs you through where he gets his information from, which news sources he's using. Here, look, all the links will be in the description, so you can go and find out this stuff for yourself. That I watch that type of channel where they go, this is where I got my information from, so if you want to go and check up on us, you can. Or if there's a better one, leave it in the comment and I'll check it for next time. So, right. I should be watching more of that. I should just ditch the news channels altogether and watch that, because that's completely transparent, not the in quotes transparent. Because as much as they're meant to be balanced, like you said, there's an agenda, there's views. Yes, they're after views. And yeah, you know, like we do, hit the subscribe button at the end of the episode. And yes, we all want subscribers and views and follows and likes, but we want people to like us for the right reason. And we welcome feedback. And if someone came along and said, mate, really didn't like that episode, I love the way you used to do this stuff, we'd go, oh, really? And we'd consider it, right? Whereas you ring in on the news and say, here, you're rubbish, your show's rubbish. Why have you started doing this? And then they go, well, actually, we have to provide according to... No. And you're not listening, are you? Not listening. You'd rather show a photo of the house that's blown up on the left-hand side of the street rather than all the houses that are in a nice, perfect row on the right-hand side of the street. You'd rather find that one house that's fallen over of the 50 houses that are in the street. Because that makes a dramatic Pulitzer-winning photo.
I get some people watching your channel because it's more dramatic photo.
Yeah, and it's funny, somebody on, I can't remember what YouTube channel it was, showed some photos where this is the photo that went into print, and here is the photo of the stuff around it. And when you zoom in and sort of frame it with your camera, it can tell a certain story, but as soon as you see the wide angle picture, so well, look at all that they missed out. Without all of that context, that looks like this, but as soon as you see the full picture, all of a sudden, he no longer wins a prize for that photo. Oh, and it has to be in black and white, because it looks more dramatic. Yeah, or somebody carrying someone out of some building somewhere. Carrying someone always looks epic, right?
Yeah.
That kind of stuff. So it's so hard to trust any of it. And to be fair, we pay for some of it out of the license fee.
Yeah, we do. Yeah.
We have no say in it.
Yeah, I prefer, I mean, it doesn't matter which app it is, but I prefer just using a news, getting the headlines of what's going on, maybe reading some of the stories, and that's my news, you know. I mean, to be fair, is the news tough, or does it just get tougher, or is it just news? Because there's stuff going on at the minute in this country that would be headline news if it wasn't for the other news. So is it not news, or is it news?
That's what I struggle with. There's this thing called spiking, where if you know a story's coming out on a Sunday, you get ahead of it on the Friday.
Yeah.
I say, no, this is, people are going to be saying this about is in the Sunday papers, and this is what, and then of course there's those times, we spoke about this in an episode where some stuff kicked off and somebody texted someone saying, well, look, this might be a good time to dump this into the newspapers.
9/11.
Because it'll be buried in amongst.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. It won't even touch the sides.
And the thing is, I bet you that's not the first or last time somebody has WhatsApped somebody that. I bet you it's happened since.
Yeah.
But they were more careful about it. What was that? Oh, it's your phone.
Yeah, my phone pinged for some reason.
Maybe it's a sign.
Yes.
We're right.
That's
We're right.
it.
We're on something.
That was Sky News offering me a job.
It's funny, you know, if you watch Sky News over the last year or so, the number of people that have left and you can now see on other channels, I think they're running out. Every time I go into Sky News, I might go on once every so many months just for a flick about. Who are you? Wasn't you last time? Oh, didn't I see so-and-so on? They're all on GB News and talktv these days.
Yeah.
I mean, where's Russell Brand gone? That was massive. Now, what? No, it's all Israel. What's next week then?
Yeah, he's getting a light
What's
light
next
run
week?
at the minute. Yeah,
Yeah,
he's not.
what's next
He's,
week when the news gets bored of that? Some
yeah,
other scandal? Some politician has... I mean, there's another footballer, apparently, who's been having sex parties in a hotel and got all the girls to sign NDAs. Do we don't know who that is? That came out
yeah.
today, apparently. Like, anyone should be surprised that that's what footballers get up to. Pay that much money and growing up with those kinds of egos and told how special and amazing they are since God knows what age. Of course they're going to act out. And I wonder why everyone's surprised. What, I thought I could do this? I did. Well, is that enough of a rant?
That's enough of a rant
It's enough
for
of a
a
rant.
for a Wednesday or a Thursday.
For a Thursday. For a Sunsday.
Yeah.
Thursday. Aye. So, next week, we've still got a handful of topics that we never covered on the coaching side of things. So,
Yeah, we get some of them done.
could broach some of those because that spreadsheet we came up with at the very start with that 60 odd subjects on.
I looked at that
a
today.
handful of useful things. Yeah, there's still a handful of things on there that we never touched on, and it was all sort of linked together. So maybe just get back on track with some of that.
Yeah.
I know that was some of our most sort of favoured content out there. Although some of the daft content's done all right, actually, to be fair. But yes, so drop some likes and your thoughts on the news. I'd be interested to know whether we're alone on this topic or not. And see if there's anything you've noticed about the trend of the news and how it's broadcast, and have you lost your faith in it? Do you still watch it, or are we wrong about it? Which could be just as important to hear, So subscribes. It's the freest, best way to help the channel. Give us a like if you thought this was any good. But until next week, take care.